Now, one of the themes that runs through it, because he doesn't know what happened to Margot, is mortality.
Yeah.
And I was wondering, I mean, mortality is obviously something that everybody at some point deals with, but why do you think it's something that resonates with young adults, with teenagers?
Well, usually teenagers are experiencing death as something that happens to as something that will happen to you for the first time. There's all kinds of firsts that are associated with adolescence, but that to me is the big one. Is becoming aware of the fact that like that dying is not something abstract, like winning an Olympic gold medal, but it's something that you're almost guaranteed to do. And when you realize that it's not like winning an Olympic gold medal, that it's not that it probably will happen to you, it's sort of devastating.
Right.
And I think that it does sort of realign the way that people think about being a person.
But you stop thinking about it at a certain point. Like, I'm 35, and
Do you?
I haven't thought of death in probably a week and a half.
Really?
You still think about it constantly?
Pretty much.
Really?
I mean, it could come for me at any moment. And wouldn't that suck?
Especially if it happened right now.
This is so nice that we get to do this, you know? And then there will come this time when we don't get to do this anymore.
I don't want to be too heavy-handed, but maybe if you have a child, maybe you think less about your own. Maybe you're just very selfish right now. Let's get back to that pixie manic dream girl.
The manic pixie dream girl, yeah.
She shows up in all your books.
Yeah. Well, and in some ways, my first novel, Looking for Alaska, the lie of the manic pixie dream girl is never really exposed.
Okay.
Because of the arc of the plot of that book, if I can say that without spoilers.
Don't spoil it.
But I was troubled by that, and it's not just that my first novel; it's a lot of novels. It's a lot of, and that's what Nathan Rabin so brilliantly pointed out, that this is an archetype in our stories. All of these stories written by men about women, and that imagine women as these creatures that come into our lives and change us for the better, and then gracefully exit the stage in whatever way. And I became more and more troubled by that.
Don't you think some women, girls, see themselves as that too?
Oh, absolutely, and they construct themselves that way. But like the fact that boys may construct themselves as
Don't you think it's ultimately their fault?
I think it's ultimately shared blame. Like, boys construct themselves, like there are these popular vampire books, Twilight, and boys now construct themselves as Edward Cullen, but that doesn't mean that like the lie of Edward Cullen is any less insidious.
You're talking a language I don't know. What's Twilight? I don't understand what you're saying.
Yeah. It's just
Your first book.
It's a way to get amazingly
Your first book
rich.
was Looking for Alaska. Was fun. Well, Stephen King. Did you see what he said?
Oh boy, I that was the first day I was glad I wasn't her.
Looking for Alaska was, it was funny, but it was, I would say, mostly a serious book.
Yeah.
Your next book was, I would say, mostly a comic book.
Yeah, totally a comic novel. And
This last one, I felt really,
I mean, do you
really
have to
combined
show for myself
both.
here?
What do you?
It's a
what do you-
talk show.
Yeah, I'm asking.
That's why I come on the
Can
talk show.
I finish my question?
You hold up, yeah.
All right. Do you like the new mugs?
I like the mugs. Fine.
Yeah. What was I asking?
My
The
last
last
book.
book was really great. What do you think about that?
No, but you were going to say that it's somewhere in the middle, maybe?
It was, well, not somewhere in the middle. It seems like you went kind of full-on funny, full-on serious.
I wanted to see if there was a way to write a book that never stopped being funny and never stopped being serious, in the same way that, like, for instance, Juno is a movie that never stops being funny and never stops being serious. Because I think that's what we're going through. At least for people who try to view the world funny, is we're going through something that never stops being funny and never stops being serious. And so now, like, I'm imagining Paper Towns in a very different way because I'm writing a screenplay of it, but I'm trying to think of it that same way. Like, the only thing I want to keep is that sense that we are going to be very funny and we are going to be very serious on every page.
Well, tell me the challenge of that. That seems to me to be a much harder task.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not very good at it. Is
Yeah.
the problem?
Well.
Like, I probably read 3,000 novels before I ever tried to write one, and I probably read like 6 screenplays. So I'm at a distinct disadvantage just numerically. I don't know. I mean, I'm going to do my best. I'm a big believer that movies that are adapted from books should be radically different from the books, because they should try to maintain the integrity of the ideas instead of trying to maintain the integrity of the plot. So if and when they make the Paper Towns movie, everyone who likes the book is going to hate me.
Well, I should like the movie then.
But at least they. But at least like they'll be able to hate me instead of hating some vague corporate entity.
Well, what are
know?
you doing that's so, I mean, is it now a
I can't even tell.
buddy
I can't
cop
say.
movie? I mean, what?
It's mostly a buddy cop movie, yeah. You know, I felt like there weren't enough cop jokes.
Well, what about Looking for Alaska? Is that coming out in 2010?
Probably not. I don't know. I mean, I don't know anything about the way Hollywood works. Like, until Paper Towns,
The OC guy bought the rights to it.
No, Paramount bought the rights to it,
Okay.
but the OC guy, who, by the way, is now known as the Gossip Girl guy.
Oh, no.
He's
Isn't he isn't there
previously
another
the
show
OC
that he does
guy.
too?
He also does Chuck.
Chuck. He's the Chuck guy.
Yeah. I mean, this is gonna be on YouTube, so I gotta measure my words.
I can cut out any part.
I don't think it's a disaster if they don't make that movie.
Why? No. Quentin Q, as the narrator, says, "The thing is that I do believe in college and jobs and maybe even babies one day. I believe in the future. Maybe it's a character flaw, but for me, it's a congenital one." Are you with him on that?
Yeah, I mean, you're picking on all my favorite lines from the book, which I appreciate. We read all of these novels and we see all of these stories in film and on television and in books where people don't choose the world, where people choose this ethereal promise of some kind of unquietly undesperate life. And I think there's something to be said for the world. I think that the world is kind of underrated, and the one thing I really like about Q is that he is willing to acknowledge that about himself. That he doesn't have to be Huck Finn lighting out for the territories. That he's okay with the idea of going to college and having a real life that the kind of people that he sees in his world in Orlando live.
Well, he's a geeky guy, but he's a confident guy.
Yeah. I mean, he's certainly more confident than us. You know, I mean, he has.
It's much easier to write confidence than be confident.
Oh God. Yeah. No, I mean, we both know that.
So what's next? Forget the movies. Are you okay?
Yeah. Sorry, I had to recover because we're just so hilariously not confident, both of us as people. The next thing is I've got in March of 2010 my next book comes out. It's co-written with my friend David Levithan, who wrote half of the book Nick and Nora's Infinite Playlist that they made into a movie. And then in 2011, hopefully my next novel comes out.
Which is what?
It's called The Sequel, I think, and
Okay.
it's a sequel to a fictional novel, like a non-existent novel.
Cool. Well, thanks for coming by. John Green, everyone.
Mark.